All right, so yeah, we are going over a good bit of things coming in. So you listen. I'm not saying that the trolling is completely over, but I am saying that you deserve what you get. Now, I heard several people mention things about, man, that's wrong and you wrong and how you listen. If you got a Max Verstappen profile image picture of Max Verstappen, and you also have Max Verstappen's name as your profile name, I am directly talking to you. You're exactly the type of person that I'm talking to. All right. But we have more things to get into. We are getting to into a very interesting, very long awaited place in Formula One. And that is we're gonna start seeing that these cars, these teams are gonna start rolling out tests, concepts of how they're gonna bring these new cars into fruition. So that happened directly after the season. So when you have a regulation or a change to this magnitude, we do get a lot of news earlier than we would since 2022 to 2025. There wasn't a lot to come out because that regulation, that Aero regulation was the same. Everybody's just trying to fine tune the floors and do all this. But now that we have an entire package, and there are a lot of little nuanced things that we are going to go into. But today we're just going to talk about some of the teams getting out there. So big shout out to Darth, big shout out to AF1 up in the chat, and big shout out to everybody that's joined on the Afterwatch. Do remember that you can join the Wolfpack membership. It does come with a lot of good fun things that we like to do. It does come with giveaways we like to do. It does come with the Discord access. It does come with having guests and you being able to ask questions in real live video time to the guests instead of just being in the comment section. So we want to try to grow our community like 5 times fold before the new season. I would love nothing more than to have 1,000 Wolfpack memberships, 1,000 Wolfpack members, 1,000 people willing to bring information, share pictures of you going to Formula One races, share pictures of merch, and have more people in the grudge races that we do for F1 2026 on Xbox, PlayStation, and your PC. So big shout out to you for that. What's going on, Glass? So as you see right here, we got Valtteri Bottas with Cadillac. Cadillac is one of the new teams coming in. Valtteri is already a marketing, I don't want to use the word icon. I don't want to say a marketing icon, but Valtteri is very interesting as far as marketability comes. Sergio Perez, not so much, but Valtteri a lot. And I'm pretty sure the combination of Valtteri's character and personality, they will be able to play off of that with Sergio Perez. And I think the two in Cadillac will have a very good combination. Now, I did see the idea of what about if Lewis Hamilton should have just went to Cadillac instead of Ferrari? At this point in time, hindsight, given what we've seen from Ferrari, I'm not mad at that idea. I just don't know if that would have been the best idea for Lewis at that time. Anytime that you're deciding to make a jump from a team that you've been with through several championships, several successful seasons, constructor championships, it's not ideal for you to pick a team that's just now coming into Formula One. It's not just ideal. It's not a good choice to make. You already know, and you can go back in Formula One history, and you show me a team that freshly came into the sport and went right to the top and won constructor and drivers championships. It's not something that happens, and for very valid reasons. So with Lewis already getting cheated out of his eighth, actually getting cheated out of other championships, because we can go down that rabbit hole, and we will likely go down that rabbit hole before we get to the new season. He's chasing his eighth. Unfortunately, Ferrari sold him on a bag of bad goods, and it didn't work out. Not to say it won't work out this season for several reasons that I may be able to put out in front of you and say that could actually happen, but we'll save that for a different video. Now, we also in here did have some images of the process of what Cadillac is doing. All right. So Cadillac right now, leaked image, how true or how factual this might be, just kind of take it as a grain of salt. The red arrows indicate some of the areas of interest that I have. And one of the fine points on this front wing and the new front wing as a whole is the end plates. The end plate area of the front wing is largely reprofiled. And I do mean largely. It's not even the same concept that we had from 2022 to 2025. The front wing itself has undergone such a revision that it is entirely reprofiled across, but these areas are what I'm going to focus on. So if you notice, there's a top, there's a front wing. These are probably different concepts that Cadillac are trying to test out to see what may be the best variation for them to come out with through CFD, through wind tunnel, and then we'll finally see what they're going to kind of narrow it down to in testing. Now, it could be very well that we get to testing and we still see 1, 2, maybe 3 different type of configured front wings. 3 to me would be crazy because that's a lot of money in just that one area. And you have an entire car that's changing and you need to try to decide where you're going to put funds and time. So having 3 variations of a front wing would be crazy, but having 2 could be plausible. If you look at the front wing on that red area where the front end wing end plate is, I'm interested to see. Now, I know we're talking about Cadillac, but I am interested to see what Haas does. Because if some of you remember, I think it may have been the 2023 season, Haas at one point in time for a stretch of races changed that front wing gurney that they had put on there several times. I want to say it might have been 3 or 4 times Haas had changed that front wing gurney a few times. You might want to call it gurney. You might want to just call it a flap. You can call it a winglet edge. But they reprofiled that several times. Even Williams came out with a design that was a bit different than anybody else was running. Instead of it being a nice little sliver or a strip of carbon fiber, they came out with something that was more blocky overall. So there are going to be teams playing with this, and I actually want to see what Haas does because I think by far, if it comes to the front wing end plate area, Haas tried to extract as much efficiency out of that area as they could. Now, how much they saw from that, I don't know. Probably not much. And if they did, it didn't bring them to the mid-pack to say that they were a strong contender. But Cadillac is taking on an ideology of NASA, of space race type processes on how they're running their entire organization. And it is interesting, right? If you can put together an entire team and you construct a craft and processes and theories and equations to find a way to get from Earth to the moon, then I would say that that might be a model that you want to try to take some notes from. Not the entire scheme, but some notes from. We're still talking about aerodynamics, right? So it's interesting to see where Cadillac is going to land, to me. The next thing up is Ferrari. Now, this is the active Aero. This is where we come to active Aero. Ferrari were out there doing some testing. This is with the active Aero off. This is with active Aero on. Okay, so you're going to get less drag, more slip. And so you see the difference there in the front wing profiling. Now, I'm going to say this. It's not drastic. Okay, it's not a drastic thing. This is nowhere near the gaping hole that you get when you activate DRS, which if some of you are just joining the channel, some of you might be just joining Formula One. DRS is an acronym for drag reduction system. And to a degree, drag reduction or DRS is not going to be in 2026. I would kind of debate that. To me, my perspective is if DRS being activated is a flap on the rear wing that adjusted so at such an angle that it opens up a gap between the upper profile and a lower profile to then open up a gap where wind just slips through and therefore you get less drag, then to me, this is just a highly complicated front and rear DRS system. That's just how I see it. Now, they're going to implement it differently. It's going to be activated differently, but to me, it's still DRS just just more elaborate, in my opinion. All right, I'll do more diving and studying to see if I come up. But to me, it's still DRS. I understand that, yeah, there's not a big gaping hole in your rear wing at some point in time when you pass a checkpoint area. But to me, this is still kind of DRS. Ferrari here, in my opinion, this is just testing. They're just trying out the concept. It is what it is. But I didn't see how Ferrari were trying to simulate this. Now, a team that we did see is Mercedes. And this is another team that I mentioned to you all where I said, I think Mercedes may indeed kind of be in a situation where I think they might show some promise. And that was largely in the power unit section. You got to remember, when we came into the turbo hybrid era, Mercedes was a leading team in that. Now, I still have a little bit of, how can I say, not promise, but it's not even hope. I just honestly think that I can give Mercedes a bit more favor in nailing down the power unit, because you're now going to have 50% energy being electrical, 50% being internal combustion, turbo. So, and we're losing the MGUH. We're losing the MGUH. We're not losing the MGUK. All right. So the MGUH is going to be gone, and it's going to be gone in place of the new electronic components that are going to be improved, expounded on, and increased. The MGUK will still be there. Right. So Mercedes got that right. I don't know how confident I am about Mercedes in the aero department. And this is active aero. Exactly that. They failed miserably with the slim down side pod. I thought it was a cool concept. It looked like a cool concept. I like things that are different. I thought for a minute that, hey, if it works, it will definitely put Mercedes at an advantage, because when you have something that is so wildly differently designed than 7 other teams on the grid, because people sometimes forget McLaren had a variation of a slim down side pod, and so did Williams. So 2 other Mercedes customer teams on the grid adopted that ideology of, let's try it, that philosophy of aerodynamic design, and they abandoned it quickly. Mercedes being the founder or the originator of the slim down side pod, because I hate when people say zero side pod. It's not zero. It's literally a side pod there. It's just slimmed down very drastically. They did not abandon that. Mercedes of Williams abandoned it. Mercedes of McLaren abandoned it. They got rid of it. They went to something that was more traditionally seen amongst the grid, and they started designing from there, developing from there. And they started finding themselves picking up momentum a lot sooner than Mercedes did. Mercedes stayed with that slim down side pod way too long. All right. They stayed with it way too long. And so here I do have some question. I do have some reserve if Mercedes will get this right. But what I will tell you is the way they implemented this concept is absolutely interesting. We're still talking about a team that had DOS. Okay, we're still talking about a team that had DOS. And that was crazy. The angular steering system that they had, it was not illegal. People that are largely Red Bull fans like to say that DOS was illegal. This is not true. DOS was not illegal. DOS was therefore banned after. And what it was is they extracted information. They manipulated a very gray area, and technically it might not have even been such a gray area. It wasn't even really thought of, and they came up with a concept that worked. It was not illegal. It was later banned, okay? But we're talking about a team in Mercedes that does very innovative things. Let's not forget about the wing gap separators, all right? Let's not forget about how Mercedes has done several other things when it comes to trying to find innovative ways to compete and bring about performance. I think that this rig that they installed on the mule car, and I think Kimi was driving this car at that time, is very interesting. Now, how efficient or how effective it was to providing them with some type of data that would give them a good measure of what they can expect, I don't know. You don't know. hell, they probably don't know. But I will say that they cannot be faulted for not trying, because this is trying. And I think this is more of a cable system. I think this is a cable system. I don't know if they might have a solenoid on the other end that might activate this, or is this going to be something that is driver activated? But it's interesting, and I like the way they've done it. And this, to me, seems a bit more effective, or it seems a bit more elaborate than what I saw from the Ferrari car. So yeah, Kimi was out there doing it. You'll see these arrows indicate how they brought it out of the nose section, and how those then cables went to an actuator or a swivel rig to activate the flap, the latest flap on the front wing. So yeah, I'm really interested to see where Mercedes is going to land with this. And I'm really interested to finally start seeing what Audi is doing. Audi is very well kept right now. Audi is very well kept with everything that is coming about as far as their development. So to me it's interesting to know that how tight Audi is keeping their information. And I hope when they come out, it's absolutely crazy. Now, I do have an idea of Audi involved in this new Aero regulations, but I'm going to save that for a different video as well. So just stay tuned, because I will be launching the thumbnail for that, because we're going to take a little bit more specific dive on the active Aero and everything coming in. But I do have an idea of why I think Audi may indeed kind of have a leg up on the other teams for a very specific reason. Also, Hadjar out there testing, first time Red Bull gear, first time Red Bull car out there with Red Bull, testing out some things. And I'm really hoping that his season with Red Bull doesn't mirror the season that we've seen with several other drivers with Red Bull other than Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez, probably the most latest successful driver at Red Bull post the Danny Rick era. Everybody else didn't do well and just couldn't perform at all to the point in that car where it would even help Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. So my motivation, or me even giving some type of positive light to that, is that I want to see Hadjar do well. I know it's with Red Bull, but I don't dislike the team to the degree to want to damn this guy's opportunity in Formula One. Hadjar seems like a good dude. Hadjar had a pretty good season as a rookie. Hadjar was in the junior Red Bull team. We already know they're going to promote you and bring you up if it seems like it might be a fit, and it hasn't been a fit for anybody aside for Perez, and that even wasn't a really good fit, because when the car favored Perez and Perez was literally challenging Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship by 6 points going into Miami, I think 2023, they quickly turned that car's development towards Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, who was struggling initially, started gaining momentum, and Perez, who had already had momentum, lost it, because the car's characteristics drastically changed from something that was a bit more understeering, which Perez was favored in, to something that became more pointy, which we know Max Verstappen likes a pointier car. And Perez lost it. And even in that time, I felt the team could have done changes. The team could have made certain variations to Perez's car to suit his driving style instead of Max Verstappen. I think what really largely comes into that is that they are so protective about the fragile mental ability of Max and having a worthy challenger next to him. I don't want to say, because he's never had a champion next to him. He hasn't had that yet. Max Verstappen in his career has never had a championship winning driver on the other side of that garage. Facts. And it seems that Red Bull will do themselves a disservice by always trying to cater to Max by not only car development, but by teammate selection. Other teams like Mercedes, other teams like Ferrari, Aston Martin's kind of doing it right now. They want to hold on to Lance Stroll, and he definitely probably shouldn't be in Formula One. And had his dad not been owner of the team and be a multi-billionaire to afford his son to play around in Formula One, Lance Stroll would not have a job anywhere else. He might not even be a reserve driver anywhere else with his ability and what he's put before us in Formula One. So Red Bull, I'm hoping enough change happens there for Hadjar to have a performing season his sophomore season. I don't want to see him go into a sophomore slump. And honestly, I don't have much faith in Red Bull. And I'm just talking about performance-based. I've always credited Red Bull for having a good strategy, for being very cunning and quickly, acutely to act in real race time to the situation that is in front of them. Where other teams like McLaren, we've seen them drop the ball several times in this situation. We've seen McLaren, we've seen Ferrari, we've seen other teams drop the ball. We've even seen Mercedes. We criticized Mercedes largely last season for not acting in the moment and sticking to a plan that is failing in live time and just sticking to your guns going down with the ship. Red Bull doesn't do that. So I've always gave them props for that. I've always credited them for that. But I'm not crediting you for having Ford. I think it's a mistake. But like I also said, I think largely the IP, the intellectual property that will be involved in that power unit is still going to be Honda. And Honda makes a damn good power unit. It's one of the elements of why Red Bull was even able to win championships. Had they probably still had Renault, they wouldn't have been doing that. I can tell you that. So what's up, Miss Dino? What's up, Dreads? I see y'all popped in. What's up, Reezy? What's up, Julius? I see you popped in, bro. So I think the downfall of Red Bull is here. Now, how far they fall, I don't know. Max Verstappen not winning the championship, Adrian Newey leaving, touching everything that he shouldn't be touching, Christian Horner, Mr. Mushface, Helmut Marko, all of them leaving. These are the things that happen. So we'll see what happens with Red Bull next season. It's still, like I said, they're still one of the top teams you're going to pay attention to. They've earned that. They have that. And it's going to be that until they're not that. Right now, Ferrari is already that. Ferrari is a team that a lot of people are getting tired of paying attention to coming into a season, and then they don't do much of anything. Just keeping it a buck with you. And I already told you several races back, I'm not looking for them to do something. If they do something, I'll pay attention to it. But I'm not looking for Ferrari to surprise me at any race. And it's going to be the same thing coming into the season, whereas they were the most watched team because of Lewis Hamilton and coming in to see this 90% changed car last season. I don't think it's going to be that this season. I think Audi and Cadillac are going to be the most viewed livery launches this season. Audi and Cadillac. And the other team that'll come after that will be Aston Martin because of how much is changing there. Because of Aston Martin with Newey, Aston Martin with, I wish it was a different driver's pairing, but it's not. Aston Martin with the Honda power unit, Aston Martin becoming a works team, Aston Martin with facilities. They're going to be the third most viewed team, I think, going into the new season next season. And so then after that, you're kind of looking at Mercedes, Red Bull, and then Ferrari because of Lewis Hamilton. Surely is why. And that's just how I see it, but I'm going to tell you this. If this season where the racing's not happening, development is the developmental season, let's just call it that, the development part of the season. If we hear that Ferrari does some firing in some very interesting areas that we think they should, which is one, Adami, which had earned the name Adami, then yeah, they're going to turn up some interest. If we find out that there was a meeting held and Ferrari heard Lewis Hamilton's entire list, that he let us know that he had been compiling all of the 2025 season to inform them of things that he thinks and knows are wrong and how to possibly fix them, that's going to gain more interest. If we find out that Ferrari some way, somehow in this new era regulations has come up with a concept that got some type of leaked pictures or performance on track and it looked crazy, they're going to gain momentum. But other than that, it's just going to be, okay, we're just going to see what kind of car they come up with. They they fouled up this season, and it's likely they're going to foul up next season. Just to keep it a buck with you. So you can have hope, but I don't have the word escapes me that I want to use, but oh yeah, I'll use this. I don't have the confidence in Ferrari next season to do much of anything different than what I saw this season. And if they do, awesome, great. Lewis deserves it. And I wish I could tell you that Lewis should leave Ferrari and go somewhere else, but there's nowhere for Lewis Hamilton to go right now. Contracts are what they are. It would be a crazy, ridiculous, knee-jerk move if he was to leave and go somewhere, and then you'd have to ask yourself, where is he going to go? Just be for real. Where legitimately is Lewis Hamilton going to go right now that will make you feel confident that next season it's going to be better? Because some would debate it probably would have been worth it given the situations were right, because I don't care for how Mercedes did things, so I understand leaving and I promote the leaving. They should have gave that man what he earned and damn sure gave him the legacy deal that he was asking for. I feel Mercedes messed up in that situation and then found themselves in a driver debacle and then found themselves with Kimi almost being jaded by Toto Wolff's spiraling love lust formation. It was crazy. But other than Mercedes, where was he going to go? Damn sure wasn't going to be Red Bull. Hell no, it wasn't going to be that. Aston Martin, they can't get rid of Lance Stroll because dad wants to keep him on the team. And Alonso's there. I don't know how that's going to go. And I know some people got this, Alonso and Lewis Hamilton running back at a older age, more seasoned. Alonso's still the dickhead he was then. This is the same guy that were paying mechanics to sabotage Lewis Hamilton's car. This is the same guy. This is the same guy that sat in the pits to keep Lewis Hamilton from getting in there to have him get eliminated. This is the same guy. This is the same guy that talks shit about Lewis Hamilton on a podcast trying to sneak this. That's the same guy. So, no, I don't think the pairing of Lewis Hamilton and Alonso would have worked either. I just don't. Alonso's still a hater. He's still a hater. So then where does that leave Lewis Hamilton? Williams? They're just on the come up. You can't think that Williams is about to put together a championship winning car in 2 seasons of a turnaround. Now, yeah, they are the angel that I always said I one day will return to heaven, have fallen. But yeah, they got their wings out of the dirt and they standing up, but they not flying yet. Don't let the podium of Carlos Sainz, which I was very excited about, make you think that next season Williams is going to come out and they're going to be a top 3 championship constructors team. I don't think that. If it happens, great, but I don't think that. So that's not there. So then where else he's going to go? Damn sure not going to Alpine. Mercedes is already out. Damn sure not going to Haas. Reckon is racing at Haas, although Haas is improving. He's not going to kick Sauber. Sauber's turning an Audi. Audi pretty much wants to be German power unit, German car, German. They want to be German everything. They even got Nico. I think they held Nico because he's German. They got Nico. So I don't think it was going to be there. So to be fair, I mean, come on, we're not talking about the Junior Red Bull team, are we? Not talking about that. Damn, wasn't going to be McLaren. They got 2 young drivers that have proven, although a lot of us believe Oscar Piastri is the better driver, and to me, he is the better driver, especially in his time with McLaren, but it wasn't going to be there. So for Lewis Hamilton to leave, yeah, it would have been cool for him to be with Cadillac, get the gang back together, Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton back together, America's first real American team, new team coming to the grid by way of General Motors Cadillac. All of that would have been great, but we already got that with Ferrari. So likely we would have got a big boom on the entry of a new season, and then we probably would have saw, which is what we're probably going to see, Cadillac start seeing the struggles of being a Formula One team and trying to find their way through that the first season. So, it just is what it is, peeps. So didn't work out, and Ferrari's the problem. But you just had to say to yourself, the only better option that I could have seen for Lewis Hamilton was not being in Formula One and just going and enjoying his life doing something else. And he's not ready yet. And he shouldn't be ready yet. Because Lewis Hamilton, even with this, is still a top 5 driver in Formula One to me. Still a top 5 driver in Formula One. You're not going to sit here and tell me that Lando Norris is a better driver than Lewis Hamilton. If you tell me that, I'm telling you to get the hell out of here. I might tell you to just find the biggest trash can that you can and sit in it all day so that other things that are like your idea, which is trashy, you'll just have a good conversation there. People put trash in there. That's where your idea is. That's where you should be, because that's trash. That's trash. So you're not going to tell me that. So it is what it is. But yes, teams are testing it. When we start getting photos like these, hey, I get nice and ready. I get nice and ready for the new season because I like to see innovative ideas. I like to see, I'm a car guy, so I like to see customization. I like to see all types of development start coming to play. I like to see all type of testing, like this rig that Mercedes came up with, start getting publicized. All of this starts making you very interested to see and start gearing up for the 2026 season to be in. We still got a good ways to go before it happens, but all of these things happening in the offseason is going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate everybody pulling up for the live stream. We're going to start having more videos like this. I'm almost done trolling. I should be done trolling, but if you fuck with me the wrong way, I'm a troll the hell out of your ass. I'm trying to tell you. I see y'all coming here. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. All right, so I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace and love. We out of here.